and this is focused on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pokonjre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, current affairs, hey, reliable information, history, talking about culture, hey, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jah, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Today, we're going to be doing an interview with Dr. Clarence Moniba. He is the political leader of the Liberian National Union, that's LINU, and also 2023 presidential candidate. Dr. Moniba is here with us, and we're going to be joining you shortly. Also, I want to state that at controls in the background, our technical person is the political bulldog, Anthony C. Dr. Moniba, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. So glad to be with you so we can discuss about Liberia again. But thank you so much for this platform. You know, I always, and I will continue to say, platforms like this is what will move our country forward. Let's discuss this issue. Let's be less partisan and more nationalistic. So again, thank you so much, Dennis, for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. We are right now. Mr. Sia, please work on this so that our stream on Facebook is live, because I think there is a clash somewhere. So. Mr. Sia, please coordinate with our reporters, Sam, to see what we can do to restore our stream on Facebook. Right. Okay. So we will be back shortly while we work on this. Let's play our Focus on Liberia song and we'll be right back.
From the shores of Monrovia to the world online, a voice rises higher, standing strong through time, telling stories of a people, lifting truth with pride, where the heartbeat of a nation has a home to shine. You give the voiceless power. You let the world all see the beauty and the struggle of our history. Through every debate, every story you tell, light up the darkness where silence once fell. Focus on Liberia, let the truth be our guide. A bridge for every Liberian, at home and worldwide. You carry us our stories, Focus on Liberia. Forever we stand. With knowledge, with courage, rebuilding our land. In the diaspora cities where our people roam, you connect every voice to the place we call home. From politics to culture, every truth you unfold, keeping Liberians informed, empowered and bold. You're the drumbeat of freedom, the echo of peace, the fire that reminds us our pride never ceases. And through every challenge, you rise up again, a guardian of wisdom with the heart of a friend. Focus on Liberia, let the truth be our guide. A bridge for every Liberian, at home and worldwide. You carry our story, our hopes and our dreams, uniting a nation. Be a powerful team. Focus on Liberia. Forever we stand. With knowledge, with courage, rebuilding our land. When organizations call, you help carry the load, bringing hope to communities all across the road. From villages in need to families in fear, you help the diaspora reach the ones they hold dear. You honor our heroes, preserve our songs, keep our culture alive as the journey goes on. And the world now watches Liberia rise through your lens of truth, where our future lies. Focus on Liberia, let the truth be our guide. A bridge for every Liberia, worldwide. You carry our streets, our hopes and our dreams, uniting a nation through your powerful streams. Focus on Liberia. Forever we stand. With knowledge, with courage, rebuilding our land. Focus on Liberia. You lift up our land.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is Between the Headlines. My guest is Dr. Clarence Moniba. He is the political leader of the Liberian National Union, also 2023 presidential candidate. Dr. Moniba, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Very happy to be here so we can have a good conversation about how we can move Liberia forward together. So thank you so much, Dennis, for having me on the show.
Thank you. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. If you have not done so already, please hit that share button, share the show, invite someone to tune in, and let's get started. Dr. Moniba, let me start by asking you, what have you been up to since you lost to President Bouaka in the last election? The last time I heard, you were recruited as professor of leadership at the newly established African School of Governance that is in Kigali, Rwanda. But all of that, I mean, what have you been up to? It's been a long time.
No, it hasn't. You see, you will end up paying a fine. So I will blame you, Dennis, for us not communicating in a while. But listen, I've been, the thing and what people sometimes don't realize about elections is that it's tough, right? Not just financially, but mentally, everything. So I've been blessed, though. I have a very supportive family. So, after the elections, we started to refocus back on our Moniba Foundation. where we have been trying to be very active in the different communities, whether it's from supporting women in microloans, 0% microloans, to I don't know if you saw around the country, we started building some very nice billboards when you enter each county, like in Bong, in Lofa, Maakibi. We're going to start doing some more this year. But we call it County Pride Initiative. I truly believe that Liberians, we need to have more pride in our own nation, in our own in our own individual selves, right? We need to start to talk about Liberia in a positive light. And so we've also been doing hundreds of technical and vocational scholarships to people. And then also we're rebuilding the party. From a personal standpoint, and I always say this, sometimes people can say this is controversial, but the thing in Liberia, because we don't have a private sector, if you're not working in government, it's very difficult to find a job, which is so unfortunate. So millions of Liberians around the country. So fortunately for me, I have a lot of contacts, and so we've been able to. One of my primary jobs right now for the last 2 years has been to fly around the world and give speeches on leadership. 2 weeks ago, Spain asked me to go and teach about ethical leadership. Just 3 days ago, 4 days ago, there's about ministers from about 20 different countries from around Africa. They came together, so I was able to teach about ethical leadership to them. And then I'm also, like you said, a professor of practice of leadership here in Rwanda, where I stay here for 4 weeks, but then I go back to Liberia for 4 weeks. That's how we arranged it. And the whole idea is that President Kagame has started this university that he wants to be the best in Africa. It's called Africa School of Governance. So he went and got top teachers, instructors, practitioners from all over Africa. I taught leadership and I'm teaching leadership with PLO Lumumba. So he got those caliber of people to bring them to Rwanda. This is a school, like I said, that President Paul Kagame wants to be the best school in Africa. So I'm here teaching leadership. There's students from all over Africa who are participating in this. And so I'm very proud to be representing Liberia, because I always say, Africa does not need leaders. We need ethical leaders, people who have integrity, humility, empathy, people who have compassion and the will to succeed and build their country, not from an individual standpoint. And so that's what I've been going around the world talking, whether that in Portugal, in France, all over the world, I've been asked to go and talk about leadership. So I'm proud to always represent Liberia in that manner, knowing that, there's still lots to do in Liberia. I have private businesses in Liberia, so that's what I'm focusing on. But in terms of public service, we have taken a step back so far.
Thank you. And I like that one, going around, making speeches. If somebody in Liberia asks you that speech we will eat, what will you say?
Well, I mean, they should be asking the government that they voted for, right? And so, that's the question. Listen, when we talk about that speech we'll eat, what we can do, right? And I won't say opposition, but what people like us can do who are not in government. I tell people my job is to speak, right? So I'm in Rwanda right now, and I'm learning. I've been traveling all over East Africa as well. I've been to Uganda. I've been to Tanzania. I've been to so many countries in the last 24 months since elections. I've been to over 20 countries, engaging with government officials, engaging with friends, and engaging with partners and business people, still promoting Liberia. And what I always say is that if you are not in government, there's a stage for everybody in life, right? Right now, my stage is to talk about the good and the bad. If this administration does something good, we celebrate it, because the president boycott success is my success. But if they do something bad, we have to also highlight that. We can't be scared to talk. And so normally, in Liberia, you're scared to talk because you're looking for a job. And I always tell people, God has blessed me, right? I don't need to necessarily work in Liberia for me to eat, right? We are in Liberia because we want to see a better country tomorrow than what we have today. And so I'm not afraid to talk negatively about the government, but I'm also not afraid to talk positively about the government. And so when we say that speech we'll eat, yes, we'll be talking until what we hope for Liberia becomes a reality.
Thank you. And really, what brought you here, why we decided to talk to you is what we saw you were talking. So, Dr. Moniba, you've issued one of the strongest attacks on President Bouakar's State of the Union address. So today we're not here for slogans. We are here for clarity. Okay, Liberians are tired of speeches, tired of blame, and tired of recycled promises. So let's get straight to the point. Number one, you call the sonar self-grading. Isn't that just political rhetoric? What exactly did President Walker say that you believe is misleading and untrue?
Listen, when I say self-graded, it's the truth. It's somebody standing up reporting what the government has done. So it's not he's not going to say, "Oh, my government did not do this. My government failed in this." You will sit there and talk about what the government has done. So it's the truth. I don't think it's even criticism. It's self-grading, like the same way the previous president before, same way in any other country around the world. When you stand in front of the country and say, "This is what my government has done," you're not going to say the negative things. My issue with the State of the Nation address doesn't even go with the State of the Nation address. It goes to the budget. That's always my challenge. You will understand if the State of the Nation address will be positive and productive depending on the budget. And so my criticism was not necessarily on the State of the Nation. My criticism has and will continue to be on the budget. You cannot develop a country such as Liberia when only 15 to 20% of the money goes to capital investment. It's impossible to develop a country, an African country, a West African country such as Liberia, right? With only 15 to 20% going to capital investment, knowing that 60 to 70% of our people still sleep in darkness, knowing that our educational system is bad, knowing our healthcare system is bad. So the State of the Nation to me is irrelevant. The budget is the issue, and the budget is where I have the problem with.
Yeah. And we'll jump into the number shortly, but let me stay with the State of the Nation address where the president reported 70,000 jobs. Do you have evidence that that number is inflated, or you are simply assuming that President Walker is lying?
Listen, either way, like I have no. My argument had been with the 70,000, let it be proven, right? And I think they came out and gave some numbers. But if you look at the 70,000 jobs, a majority of it were government jobs. So to me, that's not job creation. Job creation is when the private sector creates jobs. That's when you know you have a healthy economy. But if you listing 70,000 jobs and you say Ministry of Commerce had these consultants and then Ministry of Lands, Mine, Energy did this, that's not jobs. That's not the healthy economy we are talking about. When you talk about job creation, then we start talking about 50 hotels were built, right? We start talking about these private hospitals were opened up. When you start talking about the private sector producing jobs, manufacturing jobs, there was manufacturing establishments open in every single district. Those are the jobs we are looking for. So whether he says 70, whether he said 80,000, whether it's really 60,000, which is what the Ministry of Information put out after they made some clarification from the 70,000, it still is not good enough. So my point again is this. Yes, he said 70,000. Ministry of Information came out and said 60,000, but those 60,000, a majority of them are government created jobs, and those are not sustainable. And that's why we have an economy and a budget that, even though it's $1.2 billion, the majority of it goes to reoccurring expenditure, salaries, travel, fuel, scratch cards. And I'm just here to say that that will not build the country.
Thank you. And to your point, because even if you have 100,000 jobs or whatever, even though job is good, but sometimes if you dig a little deeper, is what are this creation being able to do? Since we have 100,000 jobs, are we eating more? Are people going? What has changed as a result? So I get that point.
Yeah. No, and Dennis, and just to add to what you just said, right? The president himself was even very specific when he said there were short to medium term jobs. So short to medium term jobs can be anything 3 months. 6 months. So even those 70,000 jobs, who's to say that those 70,000 people are still working today? Because that was a report from 2025. So if he himself says short to medium term jobs, so that lets you know short to medium term jobs can be as short as 3 months.
You're right.
It can be a consultancy for 2 months. It can be, it can even be 6 months or even a year. But at the end of the day, they're not sustainable jobs. And so the argument has to continue to be, if we are going to build Liberia, the private sector and not the government has to be employing people. That's my only issue. So yes, the SONA was, whatever the SONA was, but the SONA would.
Dr. Moniba, because as you even talk about a short to medium term job, I'm thinking about even when, let's say you have the diaspora returning, even for that month, we have people to even face the place where they're going to be. What is your definition of a job? What is this job? Let's say I'm going, I ask my uncle to help me build my house find the land, or people are going to Liberia, and so we need people to get the executive mansion ready. So that what does this job in Liberia? What is it?
Well, you see, and that's the problem, right? Because you just gave a perfect example, right? So if we are counting short to medium term jobs, and you're coming back from America or something, and you want to fix your house, you hire a contractor to go paint your house. That's a short term job. But are we truly going to count that as sustainability? And so that's why, once again, in Liberia, the only jobs we have in this country, unfortunately, are government related jobs. No country can develop when everybody who graduates from college is looking to government, hoping that the uncle who is the assistant minister can squeeze in somewhere there to be there hustling, right? Because there's no private sector. If we was talking about, like I was saying, manufacturing jobs, jobs that are sustained, health, hospitality, things of that nature, then you see the health of the economy. And so, but again, when we say these things, right, it's not in opposition to any administration. It's not in opposition to President Boyka. It's in opposition to the stagnant state that Liberia is in.
And we'll spend some time on that state to see why it's happening. Before we get there, you've been traveling around the country, right? You alluded to that earlier. What did you see that President Boyka didn't see? Because after traveling and after responding to the State of the Union, your tune is different. What did you see that you think President Boyka is not saying? And what did the people tell you? And why should Liberians trust your interpretation over President Boyka's?
Honestly, Liberian people don't necessarily have to take my word or Boyka's word. They just have to open the door and go outside. They got to look outside their window. They got to turn on their light, or if there's no light, they got to turn on their candle. And the problem is too many Liberian people are turning on candles or lighting candles. Too many Liberian people are cooking on coal pot. So once again, the issue and the challenge continues to be, right, that Liberia is progressing, but not fast enough. There's Liberia, and I always say, and I continue to say, Liberia is too rich for Liberians to be this poor. So it's not up to them to trust my word over Boyka's word. Go outside. Look at the country. Look at our schools. Look at the hospitals. I have a very close relative of mine. The daughter was sick 2 days ago. Her stomach was hurting. They rushed her to a hospital. The doctor immediately saw them and said, "We need to take out her appendix." 6 years old. Luckily for them, they said, no. Let's go to a second opinion. The doctor was already saying we got to prep her for surgery. They said, let's take her to another hospital. They took her to another hospital, that infection she had. So it's not up to anybody. So just imagine a 6-year-old girl that was about to open her stomach to take her appendix off. Who knows if it was going to be successful or not? So it's not up to them to believe my word. It's up to them to ask themselves, are they truly happy with the state of our country? And again, this goes back not even 1 or 2 years. This goes back for a very long time. This is the question that we need to be asking for a very long time. The standards in Liberia are low. So when we are talking and we are demanding higher standards, right? When I, as the personal individual, Clarence Moniba, I'm demanding higher standards, it's not for my personal gain. It's so that we can make true that there's no school, government school outside of Monserrato or outside of Monrovia that doesn't have outside toilet. There's no running water in schools outside of. So then how are we truly educating the young people of Liberia? There's no libraries. There's no computer labs. There's no electricity. Everybody going to bathroom toilet outside. Then what type of education are we giving the young people of this country? So this is more than UP or CDC or any political party. This is the reality. I've been blessed. I told you, I've been traveling all around the world, 20 countries in the last 2 years. I've been to over 50 countries in my life. Right? And I'm always fortunate to talk with government officials or people who are leading those countries. And their mindset, the standards, what they want to give to their people is significantly different than what we normally want to give to our people. And this goes throughout the whole society. And Dennis, the big word we have in Liberia, that at least. Oh, at least they try. At least. What do you mean by at least? Again.
So Dr.
Yeah, go ahead.
This start with Boyka, right? Or even Ellen. Right? So there can be something fundamentally wrong. What have you identified?
So, I'm sorry, say that last part again.
I said the problem didn't start with Via or Boyka. So what have you identified as the issue and why does it persist?
You know what? Listen, I always say that the president has to take the full responsibility. It didn't start with boycott, but we expect boycott to end it. That's why he was elected. You understand? So the idea is when you are president of a nation, you are now the final say in how your country is going to be developed. So it didn't start with boycott, but he was elected by the Liberian people, right? We elected President Boyka to stop this, to raise the standards of Liberians, to make sure that Liberia is self-sufficient in rice, to make sure that we're not sending $200 million to India and Pakistan and Indonesia to buy rice, but to make sure that the Liberian farmers are farming. When we talked about schools, you know, I was having a conversation the other day with somebody, and they were like, "Oh, but President Boyka built 100 schools." For me, those 100 schools are not relevant simply because, right? Not that we don't need schools, but we need good schools, right? I would have rather that money that taken to buy to build new schools. Let's go and fix the schools that are already there. Let's raise the standards. Let's raise the standards. Let every school in Liberia have a computer lab. That should be the focus. Let every school have solar. You know, let every school have solar so that they can have electricity. That can be a science lab, so that we can truly educate the young people of Liberia. My only argument has been and will continue to be our standards must get higher.
Right.
You cannot vote for somebody.
I get
go ahead,
that.
Dennis.
And you are not the first person calling for these things. Even President Bwaka himself called for these things. President Buya called for these things. So what is the issue for which when they get there? And that's what makes it very difficult now for you vying for president or for anybody else, because the mentality is, oh, all of you will do the same thing. So what is it about the leadership? What are the structural issues for which these problems continue to persist?
We continue to elect people who understand the Liberian system and accept the Liberian system. That's the problem. And let me be frank and let me be fair. We need people who refuse the status quo of the Liberian system. And that's the issue. President Boyka was elected because he had 42 years of experience in Liberian government. But we already know that for the last 42 plus years, the government has not done what they're supposed to do. We need people, and we don't need politicians. Liberians also always vote on popularity. They don't vote necessarily on qualifications or ideology. They vote because they mean popular. They vote because they may got crowd behind him. And we continue to vote like that, we'll continue to get the results we have. So President Boyka right now in the position, if you say he talked about it, which he did talk about, that he's going to come, arrest poverty and everything, then it has to go back to the budget. You cannot say, and we as a country cannot say that we want to arrest poverty and then we give him $500,000 to the speaker for entertainment budget. That should not be. We cannot say that we want to arrest poverty and then the JFK hospital, the most important medical facility in Liberia, gets $9 million and six political offices, president, vice president, speaker, deputy speaker, chief justice, pro tem, get $11 million. We cannot say we are here to arrest poverty when $2,000 a month goes to gas slips to lawmakers. It's impossible to develop the country when you're playing politics with the budget. And right now, the budget, like it has been for so many years, continues to serve politicians over the ordinary people. And again, that's the argument. We want to change Liberia. We have to fundamentally change how we spend our money and how the budget is spent. We have $1.2 billion this year, and I applaud the government for being able to raise that much or estimated to raise that much. But then the expenditure is the problem. If I was president of Liberia and my people came and said we have $1.2 billion, $200 million immediately is going towards the agriculture sector in Liberia. Every single county in Liberia will become a food production zone. We will be self-sufficient in our staple food of rice within 4 to 5 years. That would be the mandate. We'll be very clear about it. When you look at JFK, we need about $55 to $65 million to develop JFK. In fact, we need a little bit more, right?
Sorry to cut you off. Yeah. Here is what I think, right? And I'm going to put it on the screen.
No, go ahead, Dennis.
So I think the issue is structural. Because I don't think it's the people. There got to be something wrong with what we're doing. So if I ask you to name the top 3 structural problems, and tell us why previous leaders, including President Sirleaf you work with, failed to address these things. Because I mean, I hear you say, "Oh, we elect the wrong people. These people, they are part of the system. We elect them." But I believe they have good hearts. They all mean well for the country. But
Absolutely.
something got to be wrong because we put the light there, it blows off. When we get a new light bulb, we put it there. There can be something wrong with that socket.
Either that or you need a stronger light. Either that or you need a stronger light. And the
Okay.
thing is, and we're just having this conversation, right?
Mhm.
How are systems put in place that human beings fix those systems? As
Yeah.
flawed as the systems are in Liberia right now, it's human beings who fix that flawed system. So who is going to fix the flawed system? It has to be human beings. But
But what
if
is
that's
that?
the
What is
case,
that flaw system? What is flaw in the system? Have we been able to
flaw in the
identify
system,
that?
the government of Liberia is too big to succeed. That's the first thing. We have too many ministries. We have too many civil servants. We have too many government employees. Hence the reason why the budget is so bloated. So that's the first thing. So if I, as a president, right, we want to start to transition from a bloated government system, we have to encourage the private sector. How do you encourage the private sector? All of the banks in Liberia have to have liquidity to cash. The average market woman at ELW, at Dupo Road, or in Fonjama somewhere, or in wherever, Bolahun somewhere, they have to be able to go to the bank and get access to capital. The reason why only mostly foreigners are rich in Liberia is simply because the foreigners come and they have access to cash. A typical Lebanese or Indian man can go to IB Bank and get hundreds of thousands of dollars out. So when we start talking about the private sector, even when you start talking about a budget, 50 million, and I always say, God bless me, I'll ever become president, $50 million should be going to the private sector every single year for startups. That's what a lot of East African countries do. The typical young person in this country, they can come up with a business plan and go to a bank and they'll have a very good chance to get money from there. What does that do? That encourages the private sector. So when I graduate from Cottington, when I graduate from UL, guess what I'm doing? I'm not going to Capitol Building to go be begging for a government job. I'm not going to Lands, Mine, and Energy. I'm not going to Ministry of Youth and Gender. I'm telling my friend there, let's go so we can start our own business. The second thing that we need to do in this country is make sure that we have technical and vocational training. Let's be very fair. The foundation of education in this country right now is broken. You cannot tell me a 5-year-old child, an 8-year-old child who's going to school, sitting on the dirt floor, there's no blackboard, there's no current, it's hot, and they're hungry. What are they truly learning? We have to be able to make sure we have technical and vocational people in our system, right? Another structural thing that we need to do in Liberia, if we want to fundamentally change this country, is to afford technical and vocational training for anybody under the age of 35 in Liberia. Let's have some of the best carpenters, plumbers, electricians in West Africa living in Liberia. Once we do that, then you will see again the dependency on government jobs minimizes. Because right now, the only way to eat regularly is to work for government. So when you start talking about structural changes, we have to be able to focus on the private sector. We have to be able to focus on agriculture, right? Anytime you look at the budget, the majority of every budget should go to capital investment, and is proven the state of Liberia right now. 45% of our dollars should be going to capital investment, not 15%, not 16%, not 10%. It should be 40 to 45% at least going into capital investment, which is roads, electricity, healthcare, schools. That's what we should be doing.
And I like how you call that, right? You said the budget is a moral document, right? So
Right.
let's talk about this moral document under President Moniba. What would a moral budget look like under your leadership? Be specific. What gets cut? What gets increased? What gets done away with completely? Tell us.
And I started talking about it, and so I will continue. And so thank you so much, Dennis, for that question. When you start talking about the budget, I said $1.2 billion, $200 million immediately goes to private sector farming, mechanized farming, proper irrigation, 21st century farming, right? Because that's the only way right now. A majority of our farmers in Liberia are digging and farming like it's 1826. They're going out with hook and shovel to plant seeds. No scientific understanding in Liberia right now. So if I'm president of Liberia, immediately the budget, we are trying to be self-sufficient in our staple food of rice within 3 to 5 years. So the budget will reflect that. 200 million has to go to agriculture sector. Every single county in Liberia will become a food production zone. That's one. Two, from healthcare, my goal and my intention and the mandate will be JFK will be one of the top hospitals in West Africa. What does it take to make JFK one of the top and leading hospitals in West Africa? Right now, projections, I said 55, 65 million, but that was a study that was done several years ago. Let's assume it's $75 million to take JFK to the level that it used to be in the 60s. That is a mandatory thing that must be done. Then you go to the private sector. You have to be able to take, I talked about taking actual money and putting it in the banks and making it Liberian only, where you have to be a Liberian citizen making under a certain amount of money to have access to that money, right? So if I'm selling donuts on the side of the road, or we have hundreds of plantain chip sellers and I see them every day and we have a program for them, simply because I can buy plantain chips every day when I'm driving to town, to be honest with you. But these women, how much are they really going to improve their lives, making $2, $5 profit every day, working 8 hours in the hot sun? But imagine these plantain sellers, you get them together and you be able to allow them to not only sell plantains, you open a plant and not only sell plantains in Liberia, but to be able to export plantain chips. So all I'm trying to say is that in any budget that I would be over, the private sector will get the majority of the money in terms of ensuring that there's access to capital and liquidity in the bank for the typical Liberian to be able to go get banks. Right? We will focus on agriculture with a goal of 3 to 5 years of self-sufficiency in our staple food of rice. Our medical facilities from JFK would have to be one of the best in the country in West Africa. And then every single district should have at least one state-of-the-art hospital or clinic for people to go to. Once again, the money is there, right? But we continue to spend it on operational cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's absolutely no reason. I'm here in Rwanda. Their lawmakers, how much do their lawmakers make? 1,500, 1,700. Ghana, the country that we're all talking about, Ghana that used to be behind us, their national budget is over $30 billion from last reports. And how much do they pay their lawmakers? $2,000. $2,500. So why is it that our budget is $1.something billion and we're paying our lawmakers $8,000, $12,000? And Ghana, their budget is $30 billion and they're paying their lawmakers $2,000 because we are too self-centered and not really focused on the development of the country. So as the president has to be the person who simply says enough is enough. And that's the hope. That's the hope that we hope that President Boakai would do. Yes, go ahead, please.
And we go back
Dennis.
to this same thing, right? Because we look at President Boakai. I mean, what you said about agriculture right now, you will say is common sense. All right? And President Boakai himself campaigned on this, that, hey, we have agriculture. That's why it's arrest. The first in is agriculture. So let me ask you, even though you're not in President Boakai's brain, but why? This is the question I keep asking. It's like, why would somebody say, this is what I'm going to do? And this is what works. I've worked with LPMC. I work as agriculture minister. I work as vice president. And this is what works. In fact, I was born in a village, and this is how these things are supposed to be. And the person gets there, and then you try to build FOIA, mansion that is not even in the budget. What is responsible? I wish I could ask the question 3 different. Why?
But that is the frustration, Dennis, right? And so that's why when people are talking, they think we're just talking for presidency, right?
Dr. Moniba, people are saying that if Boakai could do the Dr. Moniba, when you get there, you will do the same thing. That's the frustration. So,
but then if they're saying,
why would President Boakai do this?
But if they're saying that, that means they have no hope on the future of Liberia, because I continue to say one day Liberia will be a great country.
No, there are people that are hopeless. I've talked to a lot of hopeless people.
No, for sure. because they have so much hope in President Weah and he let them down. And then they have so much hope in President Boycott, and so far it's not going according to plan. Because again, when we talk about arrest and agriculture, look at the budget. How much we're putting in the budget for agriculture this year? $13 million. And 8 to 9 of that million is going towards salaries, travel, fuel, maintenance.
And
So
why is
what
that? Why is that?
and that's the
why is that? Why is he doing that?
and that's the question for him. So my job only is to be able to highlight these things, regardless of if I want to lead Liberia or not. My job as a citizen of Liberia who loves Liberia is to be able to say, listen, we will never be self-sufficient in our staple food of rice. We'll have to continue to import bitter ball and pepper from Guinea if we only put $13 million in the budget. Even if we say, and the argument is that, foreign international partners is helping our agriculture sector. That makes absolutely no sense. If I have my horse, right, and I'm waiting for the foreigner to come and clean my horse before I clean my horse, you think that foreigner will take me serious? Absolutely not. So we have to be taking the initiative. I continue to tell Liberian people, Liberia will be a great country one day. But we have to believe that somebody will come, leader and a group of leaders will come to change this country. It will not always be like this. But again, the state of the nation that was given a couple of weeks ago and the budget that was given a couple of months ago will never develop Liberia. It will continue to incrementally develop Liberia in the sense that it will not be fast enough. So my children's children will not see the Liberia that we want. What I'm arguing for is that we have the Liberia that is better than, even in the country I'm in right now, Rwanda, it should be better than Ghana, it should be better than Cote d'Ivoire. These people are advancing. How about us in Liberia? And so we need a sense of urgency. We need people who are hungry and desperate to be able to transform the country. And that's what we are missing. So when people go to presidency, right? Honestly, I've never sat in the president's chair before, as you know. But the idea, I know President Boyka very well. I worked with President Salif. I know her very well. And so I see the challenges they have. But I'm here to tell you, Liberia can be changed. It starts from the very top. If the president of Liberia looks in the face of the Minister of Agriculture and say, I want us to be self-sufficient in 3 to 5 years, and he calls every international partner, and we take our budget and put our resources towards that, guess what? It will happen.
Something you said very powerful in your critique of the budget, and I'll put some numbers on the book because there's a $50,000 that is spent for speakers' entertainment. You said
500,000.
Yeah, 500,000, not 50. 500,000 on speakers' entertainment. You were saying if we take that money, that 500,000, it can employ more than 100 youth.
Right.
So I'm trying to put the numbers to test because, I've been a math teacher before. So this is what my test revealed. 500,000 for speakers' entertainment. So if we take the $250 monthly for a job, that is $3,000 for the whole year, if that math is correct.
Okay. So
that means 166. So even you were very conservative when you say over 100. So that's 166 166 jobs.
Right.
So that's 100. If we just take entertainment.
And so, Dennis, please ask me now, right? I mean, please answer this for me, Dennis. I beg you. Why does the speaker who is probably making $15,000 to $18,000 every month, why does he also need an entertainment budget?
Right.
Why does the legislature need sitting fee, committing hearing fee, almost $4-point-something million? So the frustration is, as president, you cannot allow that to continue to happen if you want to be transformational. If you want to be status quo, if you just want to change the country small, then that can happen. But if you want to be transformational, you have to be able to call the speaker and say, absolutely not, this is nonsense.
Right.
We are not giving $500,000 for entertainment.
This could give jobs to 166 young people 1 year. And they are making $250 monthly, which is
exactly
$250. That's big money. So even if you slice that into 150, you double the price. You double the So my question to you is, why is this not an issue? Why are we not outraged? And why are we taking it? Is it that we don't have many Dr. Moniba to explain this, or we just get so accustomed to it that it's normal?
It's a combination of both, right? Because right now, as I'm talking, so many of your viewers and listeners will say, "Oh, that man, that won't be president. Let him move from here."
Mhm.
They're listening to what people like me are saying with their partisan ears. They're listening to what I'm saying with their tribalistic ears. So they're not listening to it from a Liberian eyes. They are Liberians and they're hearing the truth, right? They are already putting me in the package or in the bag of this man just want presidency, so that's why he's saying that. But the outrage should be, the outrage should be, the whole country should be outraged. How can we be buying 45,000? 2 years ago, I was invited by the Namibian government to go speak at a panel. And one of their ministers picked me up. She picked me up personally in her car. She had a small Toyota Camry. That's what the government gave them. Those $15,000, $18,000 cars. She was the minister proper. And she picked me up in a small Toyota Camry. Right? And so, but in Liberia, the lawmakers, everybody, $45,000 car, $50,000 car, $70,000 car. So we are so used to mediocrity in this country, and so that's why I'm not going to allow myself to even get used to mediocrity. So when I'm talking, if you like me, you don't like me, God bless you. But I will tell the truth from my heart. And so that's why I continue to say Liberia doesn't need leaders right now. We need ethical leaders. People who have integrity, humility, and empathy to understand and know that we should not be paying one single commissioner in Liberia $15,000 a month. Why are LTA commissioners making that kind of money, or 12,000 or 13,000 or whatever they say they will be doing? How can we justify that as a nation? We cannot. So as the president now, you have to be able to call the LTA commissioner and say, I don't care what you met there, what the previous administrations were giving their commissioners, but nobody in this administration is going to make over $8,000, and that includes fuel slip, gas slip, everything. And then you call the speaker and you say, this is what you're going to pass, because that's what true leadership is. It's not saying, oh, the legislature, they won't allow it. You make them allow it. We have to start to cut salaries and use that money to develop the country. And so until that happens, Liberian people will continue to be frustrated. People like me will have to start going all over the world, looking all over the world for jobs. Simply because, one thing, I'm not working in Liberia right now because I didn't endorse this administration. So therefore, I'm not eligible to work because I didn't endorse. So that's fine. But now, because there's no private sector in Liberia, I am forced to have to go to this country, go to that country, where other countries now have to recognize me and give me jobs for speaking and talking about leadership and delivery. So we have to be able to become more nationalistic than partisan in the country. And that falls on the president. Nobody else but the president.
You are implying that President Walker is not ethical.
What I'm applying is that he has to be more sensible to what the Liberian people's plights are. And you cannot justify $15,000 per month. Let's just assume that what LTA people are making. You cannot have $15,000 per month to one person and then turn around in the same administration and pay our teacher $70. That's not empathy. That's my point. So if we truly want to develop and build this country, we cannot continue the same pay scale that we have right now. We have to be able to have a minimum, and we have to be able to have a maximum that Liberian people make if you're working for government. And then the majority of the money and the budget should go to private sector development, not ensuring that our lawmakers or our executives can travel business class or have $45,000 vehicle or have $2,000 per month in fuel or $500 every month in scratch cards. It's not fair to the people of Liberia. So my argument is that we need more ethical leaders in Liberia and less leaders.
Let's talk about accountability. And give me an example or one accountability mechanism you will implement as president, and that no Liberian president has ever implemented.
You know, honestly, Dennis, the frustration has been that Every other country have figured out how to fight and make people accountable. So when you talk about accountability, the first thing I would tell you is that I don't think there's anybody in jail right now in Liberia for corruption. But yet we know there's corruption happening on a daily basis in our country. What we have to be able to do, right, is, and let me give you an example because you said that no Liberian person has done. There's something called secret shopper, right? Imagine taking a white man from Europe or America, bringing him to Liberia and taking him to all the government officials, right? To say, oh, I got $50 million, I want to invest in the country. But the person has glasses with camera on it and microphone on them. The minute that lawmaker, that executive asks for money, it shouldn't be more than $5 million. That person should be on their way to jail. How many government officials will be confident to ask for money? I remember one time when I was in government, when I was Minister of State, there was this guy who came to Liberia who wanted to build what he said was the best dental school in the country. And he wanted to train 100 Liberians every year, and he was even going to be sending some of them to India and Asia and countries like that for training. So I told him, I said, here's my personal number. If you need anything, please let me know. You know, the first thing he asked me after I told him that he can count on my support to make sure this goes through. You know, the first thing he asked me, how much percentage you want of my business? That's what he asked me. I was so offended. And, you know, I was like, why would I want a piece of you just told me you're about to start a school, dental school. You're about to have you're about to be training Liberians. You'll even be sending someone in for a broad training, and you asking me what percentage I want. So when you talk about accountability in terms of transparency, imagine now if he was, because if he was telling me that, that means so many other people have been trying to squeeze him for money. But imagine if an international investor comes into the country with cameras on them and talking to lawmakers, talking to executives. And the minute anybody asks them, we expose them. We play the video and we prosecute that person and they go to jail. In Rwanda here, what happens if you steal $100,000? You on the book for $300,000 to pay back and you'll be in jail. Mandatory and minimum jail time. We should have a specific court in Liberia just to prosecute corruption. These are the things, once Liberian people start to see that corruption is serious and not just suspension, because in Liberia, we quick to suspend and then nothing happens. This person is accused for corruption. They are suspended upon further investigation and nothing happens. 2 years later, the person gets a new job. We have to hold people accountable.
Describe your leadership style in one sentence and explain how this is going to break the cycle of underperformance that we continue to see.
We have to become the change we want to see. We have to become the change we want to see. So my leadership style is very simple. Every Liberian should have the opportunity to do just as well as I have been able to do in my life. I'm blessed. I have 2 masters and a PhD, right? Every Liberian, I'm not smarter than any other Liberian, but they don't have the opportunity. I'm not stronger. I'm not better than any other Liberian. But how can this Liberian who living in Butuo or some small village, how can they make it out? How can they be successful when they're not even going to school? And if they're going to school, they're not even eating properly. So my leadership style is simple. Liberia should be for Liberians. Let's look at gold. Right? The amount of gold we sent out of this country. Imagine if we had a gold reserve. We are a country that has gold and we don't have a gold reserve. All we're doing, we got our hands out like this, waiting for somebody to give us 3%, 5%, 6% on our own property. What sense does that make? So my leadership style will be very simple. Every Liberian should have the opportunity to succeed. What they do after they have the opportunity is up to them, but let them have the opportunity. And that's what we don't give to the Liberian people. If you want a job in Liberia, your cousin, your uncle, your relative have to be somebody big in government. How can they succeed? I lived in America from 1991 to 2011, 20 years. I moved back to Liberia 16, 17 years ago. And the whole time I lived in America, I didn't know one single lawmaker. I didn't know none of their names. Why? Because the system worked. I didn't have to go begging for a scholarship. I got a football scholarship. After that, I got a merit-based academic scholarship. I didn't have to know any lawmaker. The opportunities is there. And that's what we have to be able to do in Liberia. Give the young people of this country, of our country, an opportunity to succeed. If they can't go to school, college, let's give them technical vocational training. Let's give them something. Let's give our women opportunities to be able to open businesses, to be able to open homes, own their own homes. That's when you start to see the country transform. But until that happens, Liberia will never develop. And Liberia will never develop with a budget that we have this year, that was put out last year and approved by the Senate and lawmakers. That budget cannot transform the country. And who did that budget originate from? It originated from the executive.
The president, yeah.
So that's why the fault always ends up with the president, because the executive is the one that creates the budget. And you cannot say the budget, I don't have any control over the budget. Nobody would have stopped President Boyka if he put $200 million to agriculture. Nobody. Nobody would have stopped President Boyka if he put $100 million towards JFK to make it the best hospital in West Africa. Nobody.
Right.
Nobody would have stopped President Boyka and his administration if we took $50 million and put it in the local banks and say this is for Liberian women only. $20 million for young people in Liberia who are under the age of 35 to have startups. Nobody would have stopped the president if he did that. And so that's the call and that's the demand from people like me.
Let's, this dual currency, U.S. currency, let's talk about, because as president, the monetary and fiscal policies, these are the things that you're directing. This whole idea of using the Liberian currency and the U.S. currency, what will you make of it, and what will you do about it?
To be honest with you, Dennis, I'm still torn on that, right? And I still try to figure out what are the implications are, right? So again, I'm not the type of leader, you say what type of leader I'll be. I'm not the type of leader who would just sit down and act like I know everything. There's still a lot of discussion that needs to be made. But if we are going to continue to keep this dual currency system, the opportunity that Liberia have, we are wasting it. Liberia can become the financial center of West Africa. Why? Because we use US dollars, which is the international trading currency. We should be having Ivorians, we should be having Ghanaians, we should be having Gambians, we should be having all those people running to Liberia because we don't put any limit on what we can export out of the country. So Liberia should be trying to focus, how do we become a financial center if we are going to keep the US dollar as our official attendance currency?
What I've heard from economy is bad for the country, because if you're using that and you can't back it, it was always suck out the Liberian dollar because you can't control it. But let's get to
no. To that point, Dennis, I'm so sorry, but the idea is that, to be honest with you, the Liberian dollar is becoming obsolete. How many people really won't get salary in Liberian dollars? Yeah. Very few. How many people if they go to the
say that again? Was telling me, say, in fact, if the goal in Liberia, if the central bank is taking care of that goal, our currency will be on par with the US.
Thank you. Right? And that's my point. Exactly.
Like these concession agreements and all that, there's a video here on Focus on Liberia about the drilling, offshore drilling. That even people, and most of the time when we award these contracts, the people we are awarding the contracts to, they are not oil companies. They are just intermediaries.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And we say, hey, when you find it, so this guy will come. Somebody like me has said that I'm black, I'm from Sino County, right? But if I'm white, I go there, I say, hey, I know about oil. They'll give me the contract, I will get it, and then I start looking for people. So those are all intermediaries. Right. And then we look at, ArcelorMittal and all these companies and say, hey, let's amend this, do this, take this for X number of years, give us maybe 5 cents from every dollar, and we're fine with it. And we don't even have to know what you're taking. Just give us something, right?
Again, and that's this.
Yeah, what are you going to do about these things?
We first of all, we have to have our own gold reserve, right? We have to be able to say, for every gold you're taking out, right? Because that's our gold. Honestly, sometimes it doesn't make sense to me. It's our gold. You come, you dig it out, you take it, and then you give up 5%, and you report it on yourself, right? If you take out 10 and you kind of say, oh, we only took out 6, we have no mechanism to even know. No. That's the first thing. But the second thing, we should be able to say, what happened? We are going to also become partners with y'all. 50-50. Y'all will bring all of the technology that we'll use in the country, but we will have Liberian ownership and participation. So if we take out 10 bars of gold from the ground, Liberia get 5, you get 5, or Liberia get 4, you get 6, or Liberia get 6, you get 4. But either way, that way we'll be able to store that gold and be able to take it to any bank in the world and be able to get billions of dollars in loan to be able to develop our country instead of waiting for ArcelorMittal and Bill Martin and whoever else to get us 5% and 6%.
And one other example is I was telling a friend, right, from Sino. I said, well, why do we have to get different companies somewhere to plant palm nuts? My father was planting palm nuts even before I was born. So what is about palm farm that we can make it?
And again,
but
that's the frustration.
Yeah, so here is my problem. Everything you've said and people are making comments, they like what you are saying. But let me be realistic. Do you have a chance of defeating Boakai, of defeating the Unity Party, or the CDC to be president of Liberia and implement these good ideas?
First of all, I don't think President Boakai will run in 2029. He's been, in 2017. Well, again, until he says that, I truly don't believe, because in 2017,
his vice president is running. Let's assume he's supporting his vice president.
Right. Listen, all we have to be able to do, all I can do is to say the truth, right? And to say how we can develop the country. There's always going to be alliances. There's always going to be collaborations. But at the end of the day, everything seems impossible until it becomes possible, right? And so my job is to be able to put my heart out there so Liberian people can understand. Not only do I love Liberia, but I have the ability to bring transformation to Liberia. Right? That's the only thing I can do. Whether people support me or not, I can't force anybody, right? God has the future for all of us. So my job is to continue to engage with the Liberian people, continue to tell the Liberian people that yes, we can do better. Yes, we deserve better. And yes, Liberia will be a great country one day, and it's going to happen in our lifetime. And there will be leaders who will come. And I believe I'm one of those transformational leaders that will take Liberia from where we are to where we should be. Whether now in 2029 that the politics that will come, there will be collaborations, there will be everything else. But the people of Liberia have to also understand, are they happy with their country? That CDC and UP been leading this country since 2005.
And that's the thing, right? People are not, I don't think people are happy with CDC or Unity Party to that extent, right?
They're not.
But they're looking for people. So if I saw in the election, somebody would listen to you and say, oh, we want this person. In fact, there were people that would say, we want someone like Tiawan Gonglo, but he can't win, right? So it's the same thing. So since 2005, it has been between Unity Party and CDC and UP and CDC. So people are coming to the realization now that, hey, we cannot win against these people. So we either join them, or we just forget it. And that alternative is all of us that people think that we are not CDC. Why can't we just band together and form one party instead of going alone?
And that has to be it, right? People who are not in leadership right now have to come together. First of all, I think it's such a shame and an embarrassment that Liberia puts up 15, 20 presidential candidates. I think we all need to really have a discussion where we limit the amount of people running for president, 3 at most 4.
But it doesn't benefit the person in power, right? So he wants the person in power to want you to be divided so that they can win. Because if CDC
that's why
have 30% and Unity Party have 25%, the rest of the 20 candidates divide these things. I mean, the two will always win.
No,
it's in their interest.
But that's why
what are you going to do about it?
No, Dennis, and you are right. And that's why people all of us really have to have a serious conversation. Because if we are not happy with the country. Are you having
that conversation right now? Are you having
there's some conversations being had, to be honest with you. The problem is all of us will have to put our egos aside, to be frank, right? And all of us have big egos. And that will ultimately undermine what we are trying to do. But at the end of the day, right, Liberia itself, too small a country to have 20 candidates. It's embarrassing, I think, and we really need to be able to put some mechanisms in place where there's 1, 2, 3, and most 4 political parties or 4 candidates running for presidency. That's when truly people, Liberian people, will be able to make an analysis. But right now, it's so tribalistic, right? And then going back to the idea of, oh, I want to support this person, he will make a good president. The amount of people who have come to me, oh, Dr. Moniba, I really like you, but you can win. Don't worry about if I'm win. All I need is your vote. Right? When enough people think like you and support, I had so many people, Dennis, it was so funny, right? So people will come to me and say, oh, Dr. Moniba, I really like you. You can change the country, but you're not going to win, so I will vote for somebody else.
Exactly.
How do you expect the person to win if you're not supporting that person? Even if that your one vote, give it to the person. But I had people come to me, I always, days that I didn't used to have money. First of all, I'm proud to say that I visited 263 towns and villages in Liberia. Nobody campaigned to the level that we campaigned, right? And so I was able to really go and see all these schools and hospitals and talk to people. But when you're talking to people, all they're worried about is how much you leaving here in so doing, right? So because everybody's so focused on in so doing, and we have people who are making names for themselves now because they're doing in so doing, so that all they care about, they don't care where that money came from, they just care if the money was dropped on them or not. Right. So when you engaging like that, and when you have people mindset, the man came, but he didn't drop nothing. So we're not going to vote for him. How are we going to change the country? So these are things that we have to be able to address. These are things that we have to be able to talk
how do
about.
you address that?
And again, that's the difficult part of, you have to be able to address that when the Liberian people decide that enough is enough. And that's the only way, right? No, it's not no magic thing. The Liberian people have to. There was a debate that was supposed to be in 2023. There was this huge international organization that wanted to host a major debate in Liberia. It was going to be 5 people: President Weah, President Boyka, myself, Cummings, and Gonglo. They only wanted these 5 people to participate in this debate. 2 of the 5 said they're not participating in debate. So if that's the case, how can the Liberian people truly sit down and listen to what you want to hear?
Yeah.
Even when you talk about President Boyka, what did they say? The people who are supporting him, he doesn't need to run. We will run for him.
Yeah.
Isn't that what I said, Dennis?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what I said? So if that's the case,
we will do it. Let me sit down.
We'll do it. So then, you know what they're telling you also? When he becomes president, what I'll say, he doesn't need to do anything. We will do it. And that's the challenge we have right now. We have these people who feel like they're the ones that made Boyka in place. So therefore, even when he write and nominate people to minister or some position, they will change it. Why? Because they say we campaign for you, so we will govern for you. So these are the challenges that we always talk about. Liberia now has to really, in 2029, again, I don't think President Boyka will run, to be honest with you, simply because in 2017, he said he was getting older, so he only wanted to do 1 term to put Liberia on the right footing. Unfortunately for him, he didn't win, but fortunately for him, he won in 2023, right? 7 years later than when he said he only wanted to do 1 term. So I don't think President Boyka will come to the Liberian people again and say he wants to run. But so with that being said, right, there's going to be a new crop of people, even President Weah, right? I think he did what he could as president. I don't think he should, I don't know what he's going to be able to do. But at the end of the day, the Liberian people need to listen to how we talk, look at our background, our character. Is there any questionable issues there? Is there any corruption issues in our background? What are we saying?
But Dr. Moniba, these are not the things that win elections in Liberia. So if I were in, and I can tell the 2 persons who declined from the debate will be Weah and Boyka, because there's no incentive for them to debate. In fact, debating does not win you election. Number 2, even I interviewed a candidate who was running for representative. He said, we know very well we are not supposed to be building bridges and all those things. But if you go on a campaign trail and say, I'm going to enact laws, they say you're not serious. So we have to build bridges. We have to send students to school. In other words, we have to lie and politicians want to win. Okay, so they'll continue to lie, and lying sells. I want to be, I told you before, I want to be superintendent of Sino County. You think they're going to listen to me? No, right? Because the plans you are, in fact, somebody approached me and said, we're going to form a new party, Dennis, and we want you to be our standard bearer, but you have to agree that you're going to be corrupt because this is our time too. You have to agree that this is what we're going to do because we know you're not going to win. But at the end of the presidential term, then we ask for, you say, you give example, you say, look at ACO, look at this other party, look at the foreign minister. These are people that endorse the president. So that's what we're going for. So how do you change or fight this mindset, Dr. Moniba?
You know, and that's why all of us got to fight it though. Again, I would say it, right? I didn't endorse the president, and that's why I'm not a high-level government official right now. And I knew that was the case. But both sides asked me for their support, and I said no. I said I'll work with anybody who wins, but I don't have to necessarily endorse somebody officially. And because of that, I'm not working, which is fine. Again, God has blessed me. I'm so comfortable and I'm so happy with what I'm doing. I'm very fulfilled. I'm doing a lot in Liberia and I'm doing a lot internationally. But with that mindset that you talked about, right? If that's the case and it continues like that, we will never have the country we have. So all this thing we're doing without hitting our head, because the suffering will continue. So if the suffering continues and the only people we want to support is somebody who come, will build community toilet, will come, give you small money, bag of rice money, come make a lot of noise, or because the person popular, we'll continue to have the country we have. We'll all continue to suffer in this country and Liberia will never develop. But if we change our mindset and start to look for competency, that's the debate I want to get in. That's the fight I want to get in. And that's what I'm hoping Liberia transitions to. Because if we do not, we'll never have the country that we want.
Yeah. I've been trying to be able to collaborate with other platforms so that we could host debates, so that we could host presidential candidates. Even if a representative or a minister comes to the state, let's get together so that we can do like a town hall, virtual town hall. But platforms that are party leaning, they don't want that. And even these officials don't want that. And the Liberian people don't demand it, right? If you are talking anything with, like the discussion we are having, not many people will watch it. But if you are a partisan or party leaning or tribal leaning platform, then all the people who support that party, who support that tribe, or they come. So with that mindset, Dr. Moniba, how do you break through?
Well, by fire, by force, we have to do what we're supposed to do, right? And so there's several radio stations that have during the campaign that outright refused to say we're not putting it on. They were clear about it. But the only way to break through is what I'm doing today.
Okay.
That's it. I will talk. And so that's why I can joke and tell people my job is to talk, right? My job is to talk about the Liberia that we deserve. My job is to talk about the Liberia that we desire. My job is to talk to say that Liberia can be one of the greatest countries in Liberia, in Africa, if we do these things. That's my job right now. And so to be able to break through, we will talk every day. We'll talk in the morning. We'll talk at night. We'll try to get people who have similar minds as ours, and we'll all work together to make Liberia a great nation. And so that's the only way to break through. Again, everything seems impossible until it's done. Our job is that every single day we should get one more additional Liberian who thinks the way we think. Just one. That's it. So when I talk to people, don't worry about the 50,000 people, 100,000 people that we need to find. I'm just talking to you right now. Dennis, while I'm talking, the only person I'm talking to is you, right? I want you to get off the phone and say, damn it, that is the future of Liberia. I want you to get off this interview and say, that is the future of our country. That's all. Anybody who's listening and they're listening to my voice, I only want them to say the same thing. And that's how we'll break through. That's how transparent, ethical leaders will come through in Liberia.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. Our guest is Dr. Clarence Moniba, 2023 presidential candidate and political leader of the Liberian National Union, LINU. He's also the son of the former Vice President, Dr. Harry Fumba Moniba. Right now, he's being recruited. He's joining us from Kigali in Rwanda, where he's professor of the newly formed African School of Governance that is headquartered in Kigali. If you want to be a part of the conversation, ask a question, comment, or just say thank you, call 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. If you have nothing to say, just call and praise us, because even God loves praises. So why can't I get praise too? Dr. Moniba, you made a very, in your response to Dr. President Bouakai, so now you said Liberia is too rich for Liberians to be this poor. It's a powerful line, but Doc, let me be honest. Slogans don't build nations. What is the first measurable change Liberians will see under your leadership?
I talked about it. I think the budget is so important, how the budget is expended. I think there will be salary reductions for the upper crust of any administration. Right now, even the president's salary, we don't know, which is funny, because how do we not know what the president is making? Some people say 20,000, some people say 25. I honestly don't know. I've never asked, but it's not public record, right? So I think but everybody can talk about Burkina Faso and their development and this and that. Their presidents are making $6,000 a month. The president of the United States, with trillions of dollars in budget, is making 440,000 or so, or something around there, of the United States. So the question is, I think from tangible, immediate impact, the salaries of the higher level people. I'm not talking about harmonization where we start picking for some people making $100, $150, but the people making anything over $8,000 need to come down to a ceiling of $8,000. That's something I think that very crystal that Liberia can do. It shouldn't be to work in government. The richest people in Liberia are government officials and foreigners. Dennis, please tell me, how can we develop a country when your top 50 richest people are government officials and foreigners? You can never develop a country like that when that's the calculation. Who just reached? Oh, this person reached. Yeah, that senator. This person reached. Yeah, that representative. This person reached. That Lebanese man. This person reached. That Indian man. Then you see all our women, our mothers, our sisters, our daughters in the middle of the road selling plantain chip on the head. You drive a little bit further, all of our sons and our brothers, they're on keke and riding motorbike. That fundamentally has to change. And the only way we're going to change, you talk about what can change, right? If God could ever bless me one day, right, is that people under 35 in Liberia, all of them have to be afforded technical vocational training. We should be talking about some of the best technical vocational facilities in West Africa. That's my goal. Anything I do, to be honest with you, I want to be the best, Dennis, right? And so if I'm president of Liberia, the first thing I'll say, how can we build the best technical vocational college in Monserrato? Then let's put one in Dimba. Then let's put one in the Southeast. Let's put one in Cape Mount. How can we have the best hospitals in Africa? What do we need? And that's the mindset that we need from the leader.
Thank you. We don't have a call yet, but let me ask you this. Liberians have heard promises for 20 years and counting. Why should
Liberians have what?
They've heard promises. All the good things that you said, they've heard all. Why should they believe you now?
Well, they have to believe somebody. Okay. They believe Boyka. They believe we are. So they have to continue. It's like you walking. If you stub your toe one time, you won't say, I will never walk again. If you stub your toe 10 times, you will never say, I won't walk again. You will just change how you're walking. And so because of that, Liberians need to change how they vote. It's not about popularity. It's not about that my countryman. It has to be about what are his qualifications? What is his character? Once we do that, then you will see the results in the governance system in this country change. But we continue to stub our toe, we continue to fall down, and we're not changing our shoes, we're not changing how we're walking, we just do the same thing over again, complaining that we keep falling down. Oh, we keep falling down, you're not making any changes. So for Liberia to change, it has to elect people like me, right? Who is, and I can say it, and I'm not boastful, but there's no room I will walk in this world. In Liberia, I will walk out, and Liberia will not be better off for it. Impossible. And so we need to start to elect leaders who think this way, who are thinking with a sense of urgency, who are thinking with the ability to change the country on a national and a grand scale. It cannot be the status quo no more.
If I were to put you and Simeon Freeman, Tiawon Gongolo, Ellis Cummings, for instance, I'm just giving names here, put you all in
Mhm.
the room. Because if you look at Liberia's, even every time we have election, the people that are voting, that are casting the voter turnout is not even up to 50%.
Mm.
This tells me that you still have 50% of the people out there who can elect a brand new leader. So if I were to put Dr. Moniba, Councillor Gonglo, Mr. Cummings, and Mr. Senior Freeman in the room and say, you all decide something and come up with a party or come up with a group that is going to just be outside of Unity Party and CDC, what will you guys come up with? Or is it even possible?
No, I think everybody you name love Liberia, right? Again, I would never say that all these people don't love Liberia. I think the way of development and transformation of the country is what's different. But what I would hope, if all of these people were in a room, is I'll simply tell them that and I think something like that has to be necessary. We all have to be able to sit down in the room and come together. I think that would be a powerful show of force, and that's the only way we'll be able to truly break through this cycle that we have now in Liberia in terms of this two-party system fighting each other. But in order to do that now, like I said, a lot of people have to put their egos aside, right?
Mhm.
And that's where it will be an interesting discussion. Because let's be very clear, there's some people, anyway, these discussions will be had. These discussions will be had. And I pray that one day all of us do sit in the room to come up with one single solution. All those people you talked about are good people who have very good ideas. But the idea is now who has the charisma, who has the ability, who has the character, who has the intentionality, right? And who is the face of the younger generation? That has to be some of the questions that we ask.
Mhm. So like I have been able to come up with some things, right? Like let's say because after the budget, this is what I've done as an individual. After the budget, I kind of did my own budget, right? And say, well, I just give an example. If we can cut for the NSA, the NSA is a backdoor place, right, where they steal money,
The
right?
complete one, yeah, yeah.
And that's why President Boakai, when he came, he said he will audit the NSA, and later on he backpedaled,
And,
right?
and the NSA budget has almost doubled too.
Exactly. So I look at this area, like just the Constitution. I keep in there. I wrote my own because we always talk about the Constitution, these changes. So what I did, I came up with my own Constitution with all the changes
Okay.
that I want to see. For
Mm-hmm.
instance, presidential term limit, those kind of things, right? That we've been complaining about all these years. So I came up with my own. I also did a salary structure. Say, well, I can't have anybody making over the salary cap in the country besides the president should be 5,000. I put that into law. So I come up with my own budget. Then concession agreements. How do we do all these concessions? I came up with something like that. In fact, I went as far as saying we don't even need a bicameral legislature. We just need one, right? Because what are doing? So I
Exactly.
put all these things down so that I don't just talk, I reflect. I say, just look at it. You, as a politician, being the political party or the conglomeration of political party, do you have anything written down that is the alternative that we can easily refer to? Because I've done it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we were one of the few political parties again that had our website that had every single thing we wanted to do in every single sector. And so that's the unfortunate part. Liberian people normally, and I pray to God that it change, and it changes small, but we chase flash, not substance. We were the only, not I won't say only, but I'm assuming a few others did it. We didn't see it, but I'm very sure one or two others did it. But we were very clear in our manifesto, and even 3 days ago we had an EC meeting where we were talking about the manifesto that we're going to be reintroducing on our 30-year anniversary, which is April 11th. Because if you want to lead, the problem in Liberia, right? If I talk to somebody who supported the previous government and say, what did your government want to do? They won't be able to tell you. They will just say pro-poor. Right now, if you ask the people in administration, the common Liberian, and you say, what does your government want to do? They'll say arrest. But they won't give you specifics, right? So even in that arrest slogan thing, right? I'm very clear. God bless me, I ever become president of Liberia will be self-sufficient in our staple food or rice within 3 to 5 years. Every single county in Liberia will be a food production zone. Lofa, Bong, Bapolu, Cape Mount, they will grow enough food for all the Liberian people to eat. Okay, you will go to Nimba, you go to Grangie there, you all grow cocoa, you all grow cassava. You go to the southeast. So I'm very specific in my
Right.
prescription for
And
what I want
Dr.
to do
Moniba,
for Liberia.
I will not even carry my Zoom fireplace. We always talk about role. So we'll make the farm where we already have the role so that people have no excuse. But let's bring in some callers here. We have people listening and they want to participate. The first is Cyrus C. Max. Cyrus, you're live. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me. Hey, Dr. Moniba, I don't have a question, but all that I have to say is total commendation for you. I listened to you from start to finish. I think you are a very, very bright mind. You delivered several great points. Very informed about what's going on in Liberia. I think your thoughts are grounded in critical issues. You have very solid understanding of the problems that Liberia is plagued with. And I think mostly Liberians vote based on slogans and personalities versus these critical issues. I thought that you critically evaluated policies, you tracked corrupt records of the past and current regimes. Your understanding of the Constitution and principles, I think they will help anybody who chooses to listen. They will help anybody ensure that their choice actually reflects on very good judgment, civic responsibility, rather than emotions or relational proximity or just a noise. So again, thank you so much. I would say if the voting were today, you will definitely have my vote. So I hope you continue to apply, and I will continue to listen to you and follow you. And when that time comes, if I'm able to, who knows? I'll join in the recruitment process.
I pray. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for those kind words. And that's all I can hope for, right? When I speak, at least one person says, okay, he's talking sense and he's speaking from the heart. So again, thank you so much for those kind words.
Thank you. There you are, Dr. Moniba. You have one vote. Let me bring on the attorney, Wanda Continent Fremont. Attorney Fremont, you're live.
Okay, thank you very much, Dennis. Thank you for the show. And hello to Dr. Moniba. Okay, so I'm, follow the convocation, especially with respect to future elections and the coming together of the opposition parties. By brain, when I say oppositions, I'm talking about the non-UP and non-CDC opposition. Specifically, I'm talking about Clarence from his party. I'm talking about Gongolo, Ability, and what is the next person? Okay, so these parties, I'm concerned, Clarence is giving us like vague statements about talks are being had. We can have that unity in 2029 because he already been in the election. The election is about perception. If people perceive that you are going to win, they will jump on your bandwagon.
Absolutely.
If they perceive that you are not going to win, no matter how brilliant your policies are or how good intention they are not going to jump on your bandwagon. That's why you see people like Gongolo losing out, you, Clarence, and the other people losing out because there is a perception. If they don't perceive, you go in. So, instead of being vague to say talks are being had, you could say, for example, yes, I spoke to this party, I made a proposal, or if somebody makes a proposal to bring us together, we can come together. But if we are going to come together, it has to be now. It can't be later because it might be too late. Because when you come together earlier, sometimes there will be differences. You can have higher differences. You have time to work out your differences. But anything other than a unified approach against CDC and UP is political suicidal. For example, we see here in the US and other places that there is primaries. Why? You guys can agree to have a primary from country to country. You can have a primary starting from Maryland all the way coming until you cover the 15 countries. And after that primary, whatever candidate that emerges is going to be stronger, it's going to be better, with more resources. So instead of doing big statements, I would challenge you to reach out directly and work with people or be open when other agencies or other organizations invite you to a such a discussion about this unity, to be open to it. That's my point I wanted to make. And thank you so much for the show.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
Dr. Moniba, let me tell you that the man who just talked, he's the leader of NTR. He said there should be NTR to Unity Party and CDC. So I think that's the position he's talking for. Let me get your response.
No, listen, he's right in many ways, right? And so, I didn't get him. I also didn't get the name of the first person who spoke, right? I would love to get that person's information.
The first person was Cyrus Doe. The second person is Wanda Freeman.
Okay. He's right. We have to be able to figure out how to put a united front together. But it cannot just be for political expediency. It has to be people of ideology, like have the same ideology and like minds, right? We are doing this thing not necessarily just because we want power there to have power's sake. We are doing this thing to transform our country. So the people who think alike have to be able to come sit together, right? Because at the end of the day, right, if I'm talking to somebody and say Liberia must be self-sufficient in our staple food or rice within 3 to 5 years, then the person say, no, man, let us keep giving $200 million every year to import rice from India. There's nowhere to go with that person, because that person doesn't want the development of Liberia. So the hope is that all of these people that we've been talking about, all of my colleagues and people like that, will all sit down and have a conversation about how we could potentially work together, just like they did before 2023. And hopefully we'll do this sooner rather than later. There has been a lot of discussions where people are talking to each other, but I don't think the principals, meaning myself and the other key people, have truly sat in the room yet. But our people and our principals have started the discussion.
Thank you.
I mean, our principals and our our advisors and stuff have started discussions.
Let's have our last caller.
Some discussions.
Let's have our last caller, and then we can get your closing comments. Caller.
Hey, I'd like to comment on what Mr. Wonder said. I think the point that struck me was Liberians are voting on perception that somebody is not going to win. If I am right, what Dr. Moniba has continuously tried to share is to shift away from that perception that somebody is not going to win. The thing with our voting process is, I think the relational proximity, the slogans, or familiarity with certain people, when we go back, you kill my mom, we'll vote for you. You kill my pa, we'll vote for you. You know book, I will vote for you. You not know book, I'll vote for you. That's just the wrong perception. So I think the issue for me is perception versus critical analysis. This is where I believe it's Dr. Moniba's point. Our perception for most Liberians is shaped by emotions, by media, by momentary, narratives. But the whole idea is critical analysis, that requires people to, hey, go down, shift away from your emotions, examine the facts, examine incentives, consequences of what your choices have been in the past. So if people can go back and look at those choices that they made, you notebook, I'll vote for you, you not notebook, I'll vote for you, look at what the middle day notebook did for Liberia. Nothing. So let's shift away from that instead of keep preaching the same thing that our perception that somebody is not going away will make us not to vote for them when we haven't sat down to study this person.
Thank you.
You know, we need to do better to evaluate. We need to do better to make sound decisions that will come from disciplined analysis, not from how something appears, but what it actually is. Dr. Moniba is a very, very sound person. Again, I will commend him for all of that. So,
thank you.
Mr. Wonder, you know, let's shift from that personality issue, or let's shift from that perception issue into critical analysis of what something actually is, please.
Thank you. I mean, it's not from him. He said the voters. But thank you, Cyrus, for your input. Dr. Moniba, let me get your response, and then we'll go to your closing.
No, again, you know, the perception is, unfortunately, listen, the reason why Liberia is like Liberia is because of Liberians. Nobody else is, you know, I was having a conversation the other day with some people that were saying, oh, you know, they made it country Congo, right? They were like, oh, since 1980, that country people being in power and the country is still suffering. But at the end of the day, right, it's Liberian people. It's our mindset, our attitude, our lack of higher standards has continued to keep us down. And if we had to change our country, I went to Ivory Coast the other day and my mouth dropped. I felt so bad for Liberia. Because Ivory Coast that I've been going to, every time you go there, the people have turned into a mega city. You know, and I always like to tell this story. In Ghana, there were some elections going on. I was there for elections a couple of years ago, and I was looking around. I was so impressed by Ghana. And so I asked the guy who was driving me in the taxi driver, I said, who are you going to vote for? I thought he was going to say the president. He used the country that I was admiring as a case of failure. I'm looking at the country so developed, and I was so impressed. And he said, look at our country. We are suffering. Look at our country, no development. And so my thing is, Liberians have to raise our standards. And back to the perception issue. And it's so true, because several times I will go campaign, people will come to me, oh, my son, you talk so cool. Oh, you'll be so cool if you're a Liberian president, but you're not going to win, so I'm not going to support you. People will tell me boldly in my face, they like me, but because they don't think I'm going to win, they are not going to support. So I always used to say, even if I get your one vote, I want. But the perception is people don't want to waste vote, but they don't understand they are wasting voting for somebody who is not in the best interest of the country.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I pray to God that Liberia will be better tomorrow than what we have today. I will continue to advocate. I will continue to say what I believe is the best course of action for Liberia. So even those callers that called, I would love to get their phone numbers to engage them further. Right. So, and Dennis, so I would ask you to, you know, I would love to, for me, I keep telling people my job is to talk. My job is to collaborate. My job is to work with people who want to see a better Liberia. It's that simple. But we have to believe that Liberia can get better, because it can. And we have to believe that if Liberia gets better, it's us who will make Liberia better. Nobody else. US, World Bank, whoever, EU, they are not going to develop Liberia more than Liberians can develop our own country. So we have to believe that there are still good Liberians in Liberia who want to see good for this country. And it will happen. We just have to believe it, and we have to keep walking, even if the road is dark right now. We have to keep walking forward. We have to have hope. And that's what I have as an individual, because people will talk to me and say, oh, man, why are you wasting your time for? You can get so many good jobs, which I can outside of Liberia, right? But my heart is in Liberia. So because of that, we want to see a better Liberia, and we'll continue to fight for it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moniba. It's a pleasure having you here. Let me get your closing comments, and then we'll call it a day. Again, we appreciate your time.
No, Dennis, you know, what you're doing is what's needed in Liberia. Having these conversations, having these frank conversations, not making it partisan, not attacking. I think Liberia needs to graduate to these mature discussions of how we can change the country forward. Listen, all of us love Liberia. We just see and understand how to build it in a different way. My argument has been and will continue to be the status quo that has gotten Liberia to where we are right now is not good enough. We need a fundamental change in the type of people we elect as leaders. We need leaders who are educated, who are young, who are ambitious, who are hungry for change, who have a sense of urgency to change. And I truly believe that's what I represent. And so, whether you support me or not, if you take away your partisan ears, I'm sure you will hear a love for Liberia. I'm sure you will hear a platform and a path to developing our country in a unified way. And that's all I can ask for. When I speak, I can only pray for people to hear me and know that I love Liberia more than anything else. And that's how we can move our country forward. So again, Dennis, thank you so much for this opportunity. Don't let it be 2 years again before we talk. Let's continue this conversation on a regular basis. And everything that people have been talking about collaborations, those discussions will happen in due course. And I pray to God that Liberia in 2029, in 2039, in 2049, ultimately ends up being one of the best countries in Africa. Thank you so much, Dennis, for this opportunity.
Again, thank you very much. I want to thank our man in the background, Mr. Anthony Sia, who is right now he's enjoying organic food in Liberia. I want to thank our viewers for watching, those who call, and even those who will watch later. Again, we're going to close with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Whether you believe the people in power are doing excellent or not so much, or you believe Dr. Moniba will be the one to change it, or he's like every other politician, we are all Liberians. What is incumbent upon all of us is to do our very best to make our country the glorious land of liberty. Have a good day and God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Liberia is our home. Liberia people. Liberia.